Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second webinar of the Diversity in CS series, Getting Started in Customer Success. I'm April Ransom, and I'm going to be your host and moderator. Firstly, I wanted to thank Success Coaching and Success in Black for working together to host this amazing webinar. For those of you that don't know, Success Coaching is a world leader in CS training. I took their first certificate, and it really helped me prepare for my role as a customer success manager. So they really try to make their training experiences accessible, effective, and actionable for leaders and CSMs. And I'm also proud to be representing Success in Black, which is a brand new organization. And we are creating a platform for Black professionals in CS and aiming to diversify this space. You can follow successcoaching.com and Success in Black on LinkedIn. All right, before we get started, just a few housekeeping things. Remember to Awesome, thank you. Remember to put your Q&A box for questions in the chat. We're really excited to get your questions answered. You can use the chat box for conversations, connecting with other people in the space. And this call will be recorded if you need to reference it later on or share it with anyone else. All right, Bria, I'm so excited to hear from you and Daniel. So it would be great if you introduce yourselves and let everyone know what brought you to this amazing webinar today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited to be here. I am Bria, and as I mentioned earlier, I am located in the East Coast. I live in Maryland, and I am a customer success specialist with Medrio, and I just joined the Medrio team about 2 months ago. So I'm really excited to share with everybody about my journey and how I got here.
Amazing. Congrats on your new role. 2 months. I'm excited to learn more about that. What about you, Daniel?
Definitely. Congrats, Bria. Thanks, April. My name is Daniel Robinson. I'm currently a senior client success specialist at VisitPay. I reside also East Coast in Virginia Beach. I started VisitPay in January, and before, I guess I was previously in a customer success role, but hadn't yet discovered it until, I guess, fully immersing myself. So it's great to actually understand where I'm going and a little more about the community. So I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for joining.
Amazing. Well, welcome both to Customer Success. I'm a customer success manager, and I know my road to CS was filled with lots of twists and turns, and I kind of discovered it on accident. So what was your guys' journey into customer success like?
Yeah, I can chime in. So I actually found out about customer success on TikTok, believe it or not, which is my guilty pleasure, which I kind of fell into the TikTok trap during the pandemic. And I came across Deanna's TikTok, and she was sharing day in the life mini vlogs. And I was like, customer success, like, what is that? Because I had only heard of customer service. But she started sharing more of what she does in her day to day. And I was like, she's a brown girl like me. She has big curly hair, and she's sharing some of the skills that she used to transfer. And I was like, wow, I can do that. That sounds fun. I want to do that. And from there, I kind of went down the CS rabbit hole. I started binging podcasts. I started Googling CS articles. I started finding customer success books. And I just really kind of went down the rabbit hole and really immersed myself. And that's how it started for me.
I love that, especially the TikTok portion. I'm also guilty of that. I do feel that being new, it's funny how you sort of stumble onto things. And as I mentioned previously, I guess I have two main real things I'm passionate about. The social aspect of life. I love connecting with new people and meeting new faces and just having that conversation. Because I think everybody has ideas that, that you may not. So it's nice to find more information from other people. And then secondly, I'm big into the tech industry. So previously, I've held a lot of customer support roles, which I think is hand in hand, sort of support and sales. And previously, at my old jobs, I would be supporting clients or customers and then sort of seeing problems they'd have and sort of building a relationship and really hearing what issues they were facing a lot. So I think that sort of sparked my interest. And then soon I began to, I guess, just be a voice for the customer and let them know, like, hey, we're getting a lot of problems, mostly because, if less problems came in, they'd be a little easier work to manage. So sort of not knowingly trying to advocate for the customer as a support person. And I realized this is a role. This is great. And I actually discovered a friend who is at my current company and referred me to this because it's very similar to the role I've experienced before. So I think it's funny how people find their way there.
Amazing. I see we have a lot of TikTok and Diana fans in the chat. It's so funny because Diana was also kind of my introduction into like formally customer success. I lived in China for a little bit, and I also discovered it by ways of being passionate about technology and being like, where would I find my place here? I love connecting with people. There must be something that is not an engineer that I can explore here. And so having Diana kind of be someone who looked like me and was successful in her role was like extremely important. And I think that's why I'm also passionate about Success in Black, because it aims to really increase voices in this space. So you guys both mentioned a kind of your entryway into customer success, but was this your first role in CS, or was there like a path before that led to this?
Yeah, so this is my first customer success role. Previously, my career actually began in property management and leasing. And from there, I pivoted over to sales coordination in hospitality. And then after that, I was actually in a sales support operations role. So I think being in property management really laid the foundation for some of those CS skills that we use every day. Just calling out like relationship building, the importance of customer retention, renewals, building rapport, all of those things I really learned in my foundation in property management. So I'm super grateful for that.
I think those are great skills, and it sounds like your background really set you up to be in the customer success role. I feel like having that previous experience is a great help now that I'm discovering more about this industry. For me, it's more so the support side versus the sales side or management side. Again, I did IT in at Old Dominion University, and then shortly after graduating, I went to it's sort of a B2B SaaS company. They do smart grid solutions, and I was support for them at first. And as we came through with more support requests and more support requests, I sort of, as knocking them at the park, I saw common issues, and then sort of transitioned to a systems engineer. So we'd I guess really advocate for any strong issues. Again, I think those sort of things set me up for sort of a role that I didn't know I was already doing. And then a previous employee had moved on to VisitPay, where I'm currently employed, and recommended. And I think I found a good fit for what I like to do. I like to be social. It's more customer or client facing interaction, which is great. And then also still that support side of still understanding challenges that people face, and then finding that resolution we can for them. So
yeah, I think it's awesome that you mentioned it seems as though you were already previously doing customer success before you were actually given the job title, right? That's something that my team lead says to me all the time. Like, you've been doing customer success for years, you just weren't getting paid for it.
I think everybody is in a way. It's weird. It's customer, and then hearing customer success when you first hear it, it's kind of weird because their support, their service, and then success. Of course, everyone wants their customers to be successful. That's the whole reason we start a business or company, to improve, the customer's experience. So yes, we want you to be successful, but it's nice to know that there's a niche dedicated to specific, I guess, success points and sort of drivers for that. So it's exciting to find.
Yeah, those are really good points. I've heard this iterated so many times before that customer success is not new. Advocating for your customer, whether you're building a product or you're trying to get sales, is the key to success, I think. So I think it's great that we now have a dedicated field to that, but important to remember that we've been building on these for a long time. Guys, also remember to drop your questions in the chat. We're happy to answer them. Daniel and Bray both touched on this a bit before, but what are, I guess, the most transferable skills that you can think of that are helping you most in your role today? You both mentioned like sales support and property management, which I think are great segues into this.
Yeah. Daniel, I'll let you take it away and then I'll chime in after.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I appreciate that. So, yeah, coming from the support side, I think a big portion is empathy, especially at my first job being in IT at a school, at Old Dominion. A lot of my calls were on site. So the customers were sort of, I guess, students. So there'd be an issue with something as far as they didn't have internet to their dorm, which is a pretty big deal breaker nowadays for people in college campus. So they'd come through, and if you couldn't get the job fixed on the first time, you'd have to either explain to them why their issue wasn't getting resolved today. And I think that helped build both empathy for the customers and then also de-escalating any situations and allowing for you to think workarounds, because not every time you're going to have a solution immediately. So I think having concept problems or challenges thrown at you in the request or support side definitely sets you up to help your customers succeed in the end. So I think the IT background sort of really transferred troubleshooting and then de-escalation. And then also I want to say empathizing with the customer. Those are probably the skills that I really took from there.
Really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, those are great. I completely agree. If I had to add to that, I would say being curious is super, super helpful. Knowing the why behind whatever it is that the customer or the client is asking for. That why is so critical to really understanding them on a deeper level. So I think being curious is super important. Problem solving, of course, like you said, and also just active listening. That's another one that's big because we're on customer calls a lot. So we need to be active listening, taking good notes, asking the right questions. And then emotional intelligence. I don't think that this is one that's talked about enough.
EQ, you're right.
Learning how to read the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's such a soft skill and you kind of either have it or you don't. And I think in customer success, it's so vital because we're paying attention to body language and facial expressions. And sometimes you can kind of tap into that, even though your customer might not be telling you exactly what they're thinking, but you can pay attention to those facial expressions that they're making. And emotional intelligence is so important.
I think that's a great point. That's honestly an invaluable skill, really, and not one you can really teach as well. So for sure, I feel like again, people say 75% of communication is nonverbal, and I think you hit the nail on the head with that. So definitely helps to have.
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree with that. I think also emotional intelligence. I don't know about you guys, but I learned this outside of my customer success role and just advocating again for people that want to come into this industry that are maybe not coming from the most linear path. Those skills that you pick up on the way are so crucial, even if it's not something you can actually put on a resume like emotional intelligence, but it is key to your day-to-day. So we have a few questions in the Q&A, so I'm going to answer that. Now, the first one being, what is the biggest barrier to success in customer success as a person of color?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one?
Mm-hmm. What is the biggest barrier to customer success as a person of color, or success in customer success?
That's a great question. Go ahead, Daniel.
I think it's great. Maybe it's from where I'm from, in at least East Coast. Oh, sorry, my camera's getting really blurry. There's definitely some I guess some pressure once you're excelling, especially in a Black community. There's Black excellence we talk about all the time, where those who do perform are held to a higher standard than I feel like others. So I feel like what's expected of me once I do have my foot in the door, and maybe that's just the pressure I put on myself. Maybe this is just sort of my own, I guess, thoughts. But I feel that there's a little more pressure as far as what I'm expected to do or how I'm supposed to perform. I think that I really thrive off of that. So it's almost used as a pushing force for me. So it's a barrier in my own self to, I guess, way more stress on myself and then perform under pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great point too. I think I would also add sometimes not feeling as confident because you don't have that linear path, or you think the roles that you had previously are not as related to the role or might be helpful in your success. But I think knowing how to position those previous experiences that you've had as a person of color is what helps set you apart. And it sometimes is more a advantage than a disadvantage.
There's definitely strengths to play.
Mm-hmm.
You bring a new perspective. I think everybody does, honestly, but it's when you can pivot well.
If I had to add, I would actually say when I started applying to customer success roles, one of the biggest deterrents was when I would go on their LinkedIn page and I would search through the people and the current employees. I didn't see anybody that looked like me. And that was a bit disheartening, so it's the lack of representation sometimes, feeling like, well, I'm going to be the only Black or brown person here. Who's going to relate to me, or how am I going to fit in, or what are they going to think about my hair? There's so many other factors that we think about that some others don't. So I think that was one of the biggest things that I kind of came across in my journey.
I think that's a great point. What you talk about that relatability, not only them relating to you, but also you understanding, can I relate to them? Do I feel like I'll have something to bond with these people? So that's a big factor. And when you're looking for employment, can I see myself here as a community? Is this a good fit or family for me when trying to pursue this career, or at least here?
Yep, yeah. Absolutely.
I think people in the chat are agreeing with that lack of representation and like internalizing that and making it a part of your experience. I think that's why Success in Black is so important to us, because we get to see that perspective from leaders and we feel like we have a home in them representing us. So I'm really excited to welcome more people to the space and get some more questions answered. Someone asked, who is a law enforcement officer transitioning into the CS arena? I guess, how would they position those transferable skills?
I think, sorry, I just sort of jumped out here. As a law enforcement officer, I think one of the things that across the board they are probably some of the best at is de-escalating issues. It's never a fun call. I feel like nobody ever calls to say, come have a barbecue. It's typically a problem or a challenge they're facing. So when you show up, you have to de-escalate the situation. And I think having that personable communication skills to, like we said, read the room, understand body language, they have to do all those things so fast to understand what the situation is, how it can be resolved, and first to calm everybody and de-escalate the situation down. So I feel like those are great skills to bring.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Amazing. We have another question about the distinction between customer success and customer support. How do you guys kind of distinguish between those two roles?
I think the biggest differentiator is that customer service is going to always be reactive. You're waiting for the phone to ring to pick it up. You're waiting for the email to come in or the chat box to come in. And in customer success, we're focused on being proactive. So some of your day, even like what I did with my team last week, we're looking at data points and we're looking at customer usage. We're looking at speed improvements in our product. And then we're putting that information in front of the customer. So we're being proactive in giving them data points, showing them how they're using the product or how they could be better using the product. And we're kind of sending that out before they're coming to us. So being proactive is definitely a game changer. There is still a reactive portion within our roles, but most of our initiative is focused on being proactive.
I think you're spot on again. You don't miss. That's a perfect description, because when that question was posed, I was trying to draw, I guess, comparisons myself, and I think you're right. It's more so forward thinking. We typically customers purchase or subscribe to our product, and we want them to renew. And part of renewal is to not have as many issues as we can come up. So to be proactive to prevent all those things that we do see are common pain points or do see multiple requests coming in for, it draws back to what I was saying, where if I notice a certain request coming in, a lot of support issue, I would try to prevent them from even coming in. And that's sort of where I fall into being in the customer success role without even knowing, sort of forward thinking and having it be as easy as a transition or use for the product that we can. So they do renew and we are able to move to the next goals and find new challenges. So I think you're spot on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those are great points. Like being proactive instead of reactive, also having a plan for what that renewal might look like. Because we ultimately, as customer success managers, we do not want to lose the customer. We want to keep them, we want to keep them happy. So thinking of ways to do that. So great points. Another question we got was, what do you measure customer success on? They've been in customer service for decades and are struggling to make the shift. So if you don't own the revenue aspect, what do you get measured on in customer success?
Yeah, so sorry.
No, go ahead.
So the CSS role is actually still very new to Medrio, and our metrics are still being worked out at this time, but some of those are focused on what data points we're actually putting in front of the customer. We're not yet focused on the renewal, but we are focused on client engagement. So we have internal webinars that we're now hosting. And we're also focusing on our NPS score, which may be something that you've heard about previously. So that's so there's an NPS score and a client satisfaction score. So we're actually scored and I guess kind of graded on that as well based on our book of business.
Those are great metrics. I feel a little NPS, like you said, renewal rate, and then of course everybody churn being a great measure of success for it. But there's also, I guess, metrics that sometimes aren't really quantified as customer engagement. So even customers that are dissatisfied with the product, who are putting in those requests or putting in or raising their hand saying, hey, we need help with X, this isn't working the way you want to. I think that still signifies that they are trying to use the product. They are engaged. They do want this to work. They want it to succeed. And that is a measurement of success is the customer buy-in. I feel technology doesn't allow for changes. It's more so the process change on the customer side that does that. So for the technology to work, the client has to use it. They all have to change their workflows. So I just think having those trainings on books, giving those meetings to when they're asking for these things, that in itself is a measure of success.
Yeah, that's a great point. Oh, sorry, April. I'm glad you actually mentioned that. So something else that you'll learn is based on whatever CRM system that you use in your new role, whether it's Gainsight or Catalyst, you'll actually be making a note in your accounts of how many meetings that you have with that client. Like Daniel said, you'll actually be making a note of that. So then your team lead is actually able to see how much activity you've had with that account within a certain range of time.
Yeah, those are excellent points. I think, Lisa, it's also important to call out that success is measured differently at every company. Customer success looks so different everywhere, and it's something that I am recently learning. It really does heavily depend on your company. So drilling down on how a company is measuring success in your interview, if you're trying to get into customer success or that role, is really important. Another question we had from Christian in the chat was, how's your normal day or your week looking like work-wise?
Daniel?
Yeah, so typically the first thing in the morning we'll just be catching up on Slack. Sorry, my camera keeps blurring. We'll be catching up on Slack and sort of following up with any sort of issues or outstanding items I had from a meeting with the customer. So typically we'll discuss either new goals or new pain points we're trying to address for them. Every day we have 2 meetings. We have a meeting in the morning with our Scrum team or our product team, and we'll run through on actionable items that need to be done or more information or blockers to get the client these resolutions for their challenges. Typically after that, we'll either respond to customers updating them, scheduling meetings or trainings for these new features, or just refreshers or just outreaching to let them know that these are features that they're currently not using. And then there's some research we'll do after. And then for any issues or challenges we're facing with customers or new tactics or best practices. Every day we have a group think with other customer success professionals. So I think that's actually these two touch points, one in the AM and then one in the PM, the morning just to get through blockers, and then the afternoon sort of to understand and collectively come together for ideas on what works, what's not working. But typically it'll be sort of catching up that meeting, following up on then addressing the customers and sort of planning out either meetings or trainings to touch point, and then researching what can we do to be proactive. Sorry, there's
That
some
sounds
jets
like
here,
a
so
full day, Daniel.
you'll have me mute here sometimes.
No problem.
So for me, my day to day really varies. At Medrio, we actually have no meeting Friday, which is really exciting. So Fridays are usually an admin day for me. Admin meeting, I am updating Gainsight with any notes from a customer call that I may have had previously in the week, or I'm just following up on customer emails, and I could even be brushing up on product knowledge within our internal e-learning systems that we have access to. Um, I would say usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday could be heavier on the meetings. Usually a lot of internal meetings. We are discussing some internal projects that we're working on. I am taking charge on some webinars that we're hosting for our customer base right now. So I could have meetings regarding that. Just our kind of meetings about, our red, yellow, green customer meeting, account meetings, just within the CS team. And outside of that, it could be a customer call. If it's a customer call, I may have someone else on the call with me, like someone from our product team or one of our solutions consultants, and they could be giving a demo to one of my customers. But I do own my calendar, which is nice. So I do also focus on adding in focus time, which gives me downtime to kind of do, again, some of that email follow-up, various admin tasks. So definitely, if you do have the opportunity to own your calendar, I would recommend adding in focus time when you can.
I think you touched on a great point, especially when I'm guessing you use that focus time for is that product research, that sort of time to go in and understand what all configurations and sort of, I guess, abilities this product does have for the customer. I feel like understanding that is a massive part of customer success and understanding what it can do for them and what it cannot yet do. So when they're curious or you see a problem, you don't have to wait for them to ask, or when they do ask, you're ready. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah, absolutely.
That speaks to that proactiveness we mentioned earlier, not just being proactive within your role, but being proactive as a professional, going and seeing what you can do to stay ahead of the curve is going to be really important. And I love focus time. I'm also in charge of my own calendar, so I put those blocks as well. I feel like focused work. Christina mentioned in the chat that she has focus Fridays. That sounds amazing. We have another question in the Q&A. How have you guys been engaging customers in a virtual world? Do you make it a best practice to turn your camera on to better read the room?
Yeah.
This is one of my first remote positions, and that's sort of a barrier I was concerned with when I first joined, because I'm very social, so I love that interaction, that face to face. When I first started, I actually couldn't turn my camera on due to not trying to distract people. I had a back surgery, so I didn't want to be standing up and sitting down. But since I've tried to go ahead and put a smiling face on and show up on camera when possible, I do think being new and I'm getting new customers, so being that face for them, they need that. I feel that is important, and as best as I can, I prefer to hop on Zoom for a quick call if possible, just to let them know I am there, be that person that they can rely on. And you're really in customer success, you are the face of your company, so you have to act as liaison, sort of representation for both sides, really just that glue. So
yeah, I agree. Definitely cameras on. Smile, be yourself, show your personality when appropriate. But I definitely would prefer or would suggest definitely have your cameras on.
Yeah,
hopefully we'll get some. Sorry, hopefully we'll get some in-person meetings here soon. I know the world sort of flipped upside down, so hopefully returning to normal here Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that would be great. I also like make it a point to turn my camera on, but in emails when I'm talking to clients, I use memes. And I feel like people do respond to that well because it does add like a layer of personalization.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys haven't tried the memes, I highly recommend Jiffy as a way to add a whole other layer of your personality.
I think that's great. It breaks down that barrier to let them know, you're both there for them, professionally and sort of just as a friend. If they need to reach out, they can. You're on their team. Is what it really boils down to. Sort of as if you're their coworker, not just because we're employed by different companies. We have the same goal. You guys need to succeed. We want to succeed. So in a sense, it's the same team. I think does help.
And a big part of CS is humanizing yourself. So that it also helps with that. Bray wanted to add something.
No, I was just going to say, like, that's such a great idea. Something that I've never thought about. So thank you. I'm going to take that and run with it.
You're welcome.
I really, no, I was going to say that I really struggle or really strive to add in my personality in my emails because, we want them to read our emails, right? Yeah. Like, I'm always thinking about their inbox and I'm like, customers get so many emails a day. I want to do whatever I can to personalize it and make it be something that they actually want to read.
Yeah, I think my first year as a customer success manager, I felt like I was an email marketer because I'm like, will the subject line be the right one to get them to open? And something I feel like is not spoken about as well is people thinking you're trying to sell them something instead of being valuable, even though they're part of that subscription. And so I have to find ways for them to open my email to ensure that they know that I'm simply here to help them succeed in their role. Thank you for everyone who's putting questions in the Q&A. We're trying to get to as much of them as possible. Rochelle from LinkedIn asked, what obstacles did you face transitioning from a reactive role to a proactive role? And how did you overcome them?
I can jump this for at least IT in my college or undergrad years. Most of these things were systematically laid out for troubleshooting steps on what to check next, what to check third. If none of these work, here's what you can do. Here are the possible 3 resolutions for it. So it's very formatted, whereas I feel some of the challenges customers are facing now are either a training issue, which are relatively easy to solve. It's more so just identifying what they're trying to do or where they're maybe dropping but other ones that aren't training issues are either configurations on the product. So you'll have to have great knowledge of that. And there's not really a step-by-step for those sort of things. You'll have to come up with these solutions by understanding the product and then also understanding really what it is they're trying to do. As somebody described a while back saying, customers don't want, a 1/4-inch drill. They want a 1/4-inch hole. So they want something, what you have does what they want. They don't care how it's done. They just want something specific. So there's multiple ways to do it. It's not really written down in this role as it was in customer support. So it's sort of up to you to find the best path to that.
Someone asked as well, what are some interviewing tips for those of us with little to no experience? We touched on this a little bit with those transferable skills being the thing you want to drive home, but anything else you guys want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest things that helped me is really kind of immersing myself in the customer success world before I was even in customer success. So once I decided that I wanted to pivot into tech and work in the customer success industry, I became obsessed. So I was reading all the books, listening to all the podcasts. And as I continued to do that, the more that I increased my knowledge, I was also increasing my confidence at the very same time. So when I went into those interviews, I was asking deeper questions. I was using customer success buzzwords in my responses to the interviewer. Don't be afraid to do that. And I would say, always, always, always show your personality. so much of customer success, as we've been talking about, is your soft skills. So hone in on that. Show your personality, be yourself, but also increase your knowledge. The more that you increase your knowledge, you're going to be more confident. The last thing that I would say is find a buddy, whether it's a friend, a partner, find someone that you can have interview you. Do mock interviews and go over your questions in the mirror. Make sure that you're smiling. Make sure that you're speaking confidently and clearly. Those are some of the things that I think really, really help me. And if I had to add in a bonus, start creating content on LinkedIn and start creating specific customer success content, because the more that I began to do that, recruiters were actually in my inbox.
That's from the Diana Bible. Create content.
That's a great point. I think that preparation.
That's so true, though.
That preparation is very important, especially with no experience. You wouldn't want to walk in, of course, with not having any. And I think just being here alone lets you know that you're driven and engaged and want to find out more. You're immersing yourself. So showing up to these discussions in itself is almost a tip for you to sort of immerse yourself and understand what it's like. How can I fit in? Do I have some of these skills? So I think just consuming before, of course, and then showing up again confident and on time are probably the best tips you can.
Those are amazing tips. I wish I had those when I was first coming in. I would say they're all pretty spot on, especially dropping those customer success words in there. I think knowing the language of the industry you want to go into shows that you've done your homework, even though you haven't really been in the field just yet. And then, of course, like practice, accountability partners. I try to think of my experience as prepping for my master's degree, where I was just studying, networking, and doing everything possible to really kind of position myself in a way that was helpful to my new role. Go ahead.
I was saying, I think that prep again is important. Lastly, just as a quick tip, if you're going to interview for a company or a business, I would definitely research their product and what solution it does solve for their customers. Just knowing that alone will show, I guess, recruiters that you understand what this job entails, what the main goal is, and how they're accomplishing that for their customers. So just understanding the industry, because there's plenty of customer success roles in all B2B or SaaS companies. So I feel understanding what specifically their product does for their customers is a great great way to separate yourself apart from those others, even with little experience.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point, because I feel like as a customer success specialist, you are supposed to be like the product expert. Like your job is to provide value through that product. So the more you know the product, the better off you are as someone coming into the industry. That's an excellent point. Manuel asked us, are you all 100% remote, or are you required to travel from time to time to discuss what your company does to the community?
Medrio is actually 100% remote, and I really enjoy being a remote employee.
Yeah, same.
I really could not imagine going back into an office, if I could be honest. I actually just got to meet my team literally this week, which was exciting to actually see, like, oh, you're a real human.
How tall are you?
Yeah.
Right. But we are 100% remote.
Same here. And I asked it recently. It's nice that was again, sorry. One of my concerns was having that face to face and being so social. So it's weird not having office mates. I'm very used to chatting up between breaks. So it is nice that my other roommates also, they're not actually in customer support or success, but they're actually remote too. So this house is sort of like its own office. But yeah, we're 100% remote. I am open and excited to travel to customer locations. I feel like that helps the bond and that rapport even that much more. So looking forward to that again once the world's not upside down.
Amazing. I feel like, I'm very pro remote. It sounds like there's a mixed bag, but I feel like remote is going to win.
It got me.
Kendra just said.
I'm hooked now, for sure.
I think it's so hard to go back. I just cannot imagine it, but I think, have you guys seen that it affects your job being remote, or do you feel like you work so much better as a remote employee that you're probably a better customer success person?
You want to go? I was going to
Say,
say,
I am a better team member and employee and human being all the way around. And the reason I say that is because if you live in the DMV, you know how traffic is in this area.
She's right.
I would show up to the office so tense because I was in the car for an hour and a half, or I drove to the metro, then I'm on the metro, then I'm walking to the office. Like, there's just so much that comes with it that I would be so tense by the time I actually got to work that I was just like, I'm already tired. I don't even want to be here. Right.
I think
now it's, oh my gosh, I love being remote. Like, I can't say enough about it, but I definitely think that I am so much more productive. If I'm not feeling well in the middle of the day and I need to go take a 20-minute power nap, I can go do that. It is no questions asked, right? And then I come back and I'm refreshed and I'm able to actually finish out my task for the day. So no, it's great for me.
I think it's a great point to be comfortable, less stress. It's that work-life balance that helps you perform better. So it's tough to judge, especially for me, this being my first remote. So I haven't done this job really in person besides the slight hybrid at my previous one. Sorry, this camera's crazy. And then, like you said, not having to wake up for that commute, it puts a lot less stress on you. You're able to perform and just really, I feel like you push yourself more knowing you're remote, and that I don't really have any way to excuse any results I'm not getting. I'm not late. I'm here already. I'm already at work. So it's a simple, and then you're as comfortable as you can be in your own house. So it's a lot less stress. Even when things are tough, you can take that 20-minute break, or can walk around or step into your backyard or pet your dog. These things are just invaluable, honestly, to really just give yourself a moment to breathe. You're in your own house or wherever you may work from, and then just sort of relax.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think for me, the way that I really have been explaining it to like my friends and my family is that being in this 100% remote role, my work life is now integrated into my personal life versus the other way around. I used to feel like work encompassed my entire day, and then my personal life was just like such a small part of it. And now I don't feel that way. So it's a game changer for my mental health too.
Especially with that, you're talking an hour and a half commute both ways. That's a lot of time out of your day that's not left for you. It's again for work that you may or may not be getting paid for. So having those hours back throughout the week definitely puts you in a better mood and feel just help performance overall for both, not just only in performance on you, but also just employee retention for as far as the company goes. These things are important for them just as it is for us. So it's a win-win for everybody. As long as you're getting the results that you're looking, I think it's here to stay.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you guys just said. I think work-life balance is beneficial for us. Like we all know, and people in the chat are agreeing with us, but for employee retention, happier employees are more likely to stay with the company. They are better client facing because they represent the company better. So I think remote life is a win-win for everyone. And hopefully it is here to stay. Bria, we have a question specifically for you from Candace on LinkedIn. You said you immersed yourself in CS after discovering it on TikTok. How long did it take you to land your role?
I actually landed my role in about 45 days.
That's great turnaround.
That's amazing.
I know that's not everyone's experience. So please don't take that information and feel like, you're not going to get there. Trust me, you will. Keep going because everybody's journey is different. But it does just go all in. That's always my advice is go all in, but at the same time, find yourself a tribe of people, find yourself a network of professionals that are either already in CS or a tribe that is actually trying to get in with you. And that support is going to be so vital in your journey.
It's definitely
100%. Yeah, I could not have done it without networking. I remember I was transitioning at the start of the pandemic, and this is when everyone was kind of taking their knowledge and putting it into Slack groups. So I was probably a member of like 9 of them. And it was amazing because I got to talk to leaders that would have otherwise not responded to my LinkedIn messages. But because everyone was home, I got the opportunity to talk to some amazing people, including Asia May, who is now the founder of this amazing Success in Black community. So yeah, find your tribe no matter how long it takes or how difficult it is. Like cold outreach, start using those sales skills to build your tribe because you're going to need it. We have another question from Olivier. Now that you have broken into customer success, what are your goals for the next 5 years and what are you currently doing to get there?
Daniel, would you like to take that one?
Sure. So this is something I'm growing passionate about. As Bria mentioned before, it's that passion that sort of gets you hungry for one, landing a job, immersing yourself. And the deeper I go, the bigger I understand, the more good we can do, or sort of that sense of purpose I have. So ideally, I'd like to continue down this path and then eventually again be a customer success manager, and then work from there to see what new doors can be open further. But I am still immersing, and I think the first things I need to work on are my product knowledge, and then understanding each of my customers' exact needs and why they in the first place elected to come with our or purchase or subscribe to our product. So working on those to see where I can do, and then hopefully again offer knowledge to other people who are trying to get in this field, similar as we're doing today. So I think those are great stepping stones.
Yeah, those are really great goals. And I'll definitely be here to support you along the way, Daniel. I think for me, as I'm still very new, I do eventually want to go on to a customer success manager role. And I do have some interest in one day being a product manager, moving over to the product side, possibly. But in the meantime, I'm focused on increasing my knowledge around CS, reading more books, helping like Daniel mentioned, I want to continue to help others, continue to share my story and help others pivot into the community. And additionally, just increasing my knowledge base, whether that's attending CS conferences, more CS certifications, and I'm specifically in health tech. So I do also have an interest in learning my customer base a little bit deeper. We work in the clinical trial space. So I do want to continue to build upon my knowledge of clinical trials and health tech overall.
Those are amazing goals. I think one thing I learned about being a customer success manager is that you can learn so many transferable skills that, as you said, Brie, you want to go into product side more. It is totally possible because you pick up on so many different skills that you would have otherwise missed out on in another field. So great goals, and we are here to support both of you. We have an amazing community, so I'm sure those goals are going to be accomplished, and we're going to cheer you on. Another question we had was any helpful books or resources to help you guys immerse yourself in customer success?
Yeah, there's tons. If anyone wants to check out my LinkedIn, I do regularly share customer success tips and some of the resources that I use. I do recommend starting out with the Customer Success Handbook. You can find that on Amazon. I also recommend the 7 Pillars of Customer Success. I'm actually finishing up that book right now. There are a couple podcasts that I would also recommend. And again, as we mentioned earlier in the webinar, Diana is such a great resource if you are a TikTok fanatic like I am. Please check out her TikTok. She does day in the life videos, so you really get the inside scoop. And as I mentioned, I do have some information on my LinkedIn, but those 2 books are such a great starting point. It's going to give you that foundational knowledge so that when you go in those interviews, you're confident and you're speaking confidently.
Those are great suggestions. I haven't actually heard of the 7 Pillars, so I'll have to check that out. Thanks for the recommendation. I'm not much into reading, but I do follow Greg Danes. He's a great resource. It's more YouTube or sort of video streaming platforms. I believe he's a great mentor. And then, of course, the resources we're talking with here today. I think people are your best resources, honestly, whether in written form or video or just chatting or finding a mentor, someone who's already in the field. Those people with real world experience and that are relatable. And then again, it also piggybacks to networking. So it's sort of double edged when you can both learn something and then also have that connection made. So those are great resources.
I agree. I love the customer success professional handbook. I think I still use it. I have mentors as well that help guide me in my role. Love a good customer success hashtag. May that be on LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. I am always going down a rabbit hole because this industry is dynamic, always changing, and I want to stay on top of it. And we're going to close out soon. I'm so sorry we didn't get to all the questions, but if you guys can leave like one tidbit or one little gem for people wanting to enter the industry or join this path that you guys are on, what would that be?
I would say immerse yourself, be yourself in interviews. I think a lot of people trying to break into tech think that there's some secret code that they haven't been told. There is no secret code. The secret sauce is you. Like it's you, it's your personality, and it's you gaining the knowledge. Find those buzzwords, throw them in your resume, make the connection clear, and don't give up. Be resilient. If it's something that you really, really want, be resilient about it. And remember that you only need one yes. You really only need one person to take a chance on you. But the secret sauce is you and your personality.
I like that.
Great, I need to stick that on my mirror. The secret sauce
is you.
is me.
Ingredients.
Do it.
You. I like
Put that on my laptop, put it on the mirror. Like no one will ever doubt me again. What about you, Day?
That's great. Those are great points. I think that self-confidence is a major key, and those soft skills are again invaluable. So if I had to say, it'd be your drive to understand both the field, like you said, previous research, that EQ or empathizing for the customer, and then as far as entering it, you need to understand some industry knowledge of what this company does or what measures of success they bring to their customers. Just understanding what void they fill for what they achieve for the customer. Understanding those things are the best ways to not only land it and then be successful in it. To understand why your company is actually, I guess, why your customer is actually using the product is to understand. So I think those are
all gems. I feel like I've learned so much from you guys, and I'm excited to see where your journey leads. Do you guys think we have room for one more question? We have 3 minutes.
A quick one. I think we can do it.
Okay. We have one from Nash. How often do you have meetings throughout the week? And how many clients do you all own on average?
Yeah. On average, I would say I probably have about 4 to 5 meetings a day. And my book of business will grow to be about 30 to 40 customers once all of my account assignments have been completed. I'm not at that number yet, but that will be my final number, about 30 to 40 customers.
That's 30, 40. I'm still, I guess, small time right now for now. I do have around 3 to 4 meetings, excluding the daily ones. And then right now I have about 3 to 4 customers, and then just keeping tabs on those. Maybe it's because I'm new, but it does vary. So don't feel like 30 to 40 may be overwhelming. It ranges. So that's something comforting. But definitely a lot of talk time. So be ready to have your smiling voice.
I saw someone in the chat asked if you have to be social in this role, and you guys touch on that. I do think like there's a part of you that has to like talking, because you would spend, I think, more than maybe 70% of your time client facing, talking to people. So being social is definitely a huge part of this job. And I think with like owning the accounts, like it depends on which team you are on. Enterprise or corporate teams, like you all have a different amount. Like I work on the corporate team and I have 30 accounts, but I know enterprise customer success managers, they have way less just because of the higher ACV. And those are way more complicated companies to manage. So it really does depend on the company and what team you land on as well.
Agreed.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you do need to be social. Confidence, please, that's always a plus. And as I mentioned earlier, don't be afraid to be social on LinkedIn. Optimize your LinkedIn, create content because it's going to attract the right people and it's going to get you in the right rooms. So please don't be afraid to use your LinkedIn. That's your free real estate. Just like your resume is a marketing tool, your LinkedIn page is your free real estate that you own. So please, please, please put it to use.
Those are great
tips. Point. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for dropping your questions in the Q&A. Thank you for keeping the chat so active. Yes, Bria dropping so many gems. Daniel dropping so many gems. I hope you guys learned so much and this was really beneficial for all of you. Feel free to connect with us after this. And if we didn't get time to answer your questions, we are so sorry about that, but we're open to chatting beyond this conversation as well. I hope everyone has an amazing weekend. And take care, guys.
Happy Friday. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.